Good night to each and everyone around the world, friends all. Tonight I want to touch on something very important. As you might be aware, that according to the history of the world, many people of today who read history books are confused and get carried away with what they read. Especially our African descendant in the Caribbean, America, and elsewhere. I want to appeal to you the race first. When you speak about slavery, can you define for me what it meant? It is a servant, whether to the king, whether to your nation, or whether to others. Slavery of 100 years ago was considered a business, a working force. Whether it was exploitation, no salary, no medical and everything else, we can understand that. And yes, no human being should have gone through that. But if we wanted to be technical and question the beginning, we have to ask Bhagwan, Allah, and God, which means God, by the way, Bhagwan and Allah, why they were slaves with Abraham, a woman named Hagar, an Indian, and his wife Sarah. How did Abraham's wife Sarah told him, Abraham, you can go to bed with your slave. Ladies and gentlemen, in those days, if God allowed that to happen with our great-grandfather Abraham, and worst of all, when many of my black family and friends say he was a black man, I now realize it is a genetic curse that our black brothers around the world want 5 wives, 7, especially if you're a Muslim and you can afford it, they say. My God, you ain't able to go up the river with one. You're going to try 5, 6, 4, and 7? Something wrong with you. That is why I question a lot of things in the good books, the Bible, the Quran, and then the Ramayana. Well, is a book by itself who tell you the mind is raw, unless you check the Vedas. So I don't want to get too deep down because the imams, the pundits, and the priests will challenge me. And by the way, they can't do miracle, so the challenge would fail. I wanted to know a lot of things. According to the Bible, even some brothers sold one brother who could interpret any dream as a slave. And these are God's chosen people. Now, you know it and I know it that God is very powerful. He's the creator. But you allow man to slave man without doing anything. And worst of all, there were the prophets, his messengers. Now I got to question this thing to wonder. Maybe God was sleeping or he was drunk. I wonder if he was on coke or El Dorado rum. My friends, what I'm trying to tell you, all that bullshit you should not follow. All right? Abraham was a wicked old man who decided, and I give 4-letter word, to have sex with his servant. Maybe she was better looking than his wife. And then they say she get a kid. And then God blessed the womb of Sarah and she bring forth a kid. Now, the slave kid was named Ishmael, and the wife kid, the name Isaac or whatever, I don't remember right now because it's so confusing, man. Sometimes I don't even remember my uncle name much as I got to go back to those historical and biblical times. I'm making this clear. We have to question a lot of things. And if God allowed slavery, as we call it slave, it was business, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are more slave than those days because economically, we give you a penny and we control the market, the stock market, we control everything that you live by. And we give an age limit where you can retire to enjoy it. Then we bring about disease to kill you so we don't have to pay you down the road until you die natural death. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling on my black brothers and sisters around the world because a lot of you was colonized by the European, Holland, British, French, and many others. But then if we go back into the history, who was the Moors that ruled Spain for 500 years? And who is the Arabians? Called themselves Saudis, Egyptian, Libyans. Let me tell you, if it is true, and the Bible is true, which is the greatest history book with the Quran, then everybody in Saudi Arabia is supposed to be from the Indian descendant. And Egypt and Arabia mixed with the African descendant and Mongolian blood. And if it is true that the world was one and it drifted apart in 1,000 years ago, then it's a reason for it. God created the world, so he do what he wants. Nobody question him. I ask many questions. I see some priests today, they got big plain fancy house, and the congregation people are hungry, looking for a place to rent or stay, and they don't offer them a room. But dogs and birds are living in it. I see priests who believe in Allah, Bhagwan, and God. They have bodyguards with guns. Well, what I ask, if you have that faith on this great God that I believe in, you don't need a bodyguard. You don't need a man with a gun or a knife to defend you, because Allah, Bhagwan, or God is supposed to protect you. But I see a reason why. If he didn't help Jesus, allow him to go through all that painful harassment and whatever that Jesus wasn't feeling, then it is fair that you are afraid of what you are talking about. I have seen the hands of God. I have seen miracles. I cannot turn my back on it. And I am looking forward to the biggest miracle would happen in Guyana, to kill out the bloody thieves, liars, and those racial bastards on both sides of the fence. So I want to tell you all clearly, no man live forever. You may keep all the gold from Fort Knox. You may keep all the money from Liverpool. I want to know where you are taking it. You can then leave it. And the Calypsonian said the right thing. While you in the cemetery and now another man enjoying the money you thief. Think of it. So I'm calling on all of you, especially in Guyana and around the Caribbean, my black brothers. Stop talking about white man slave you. He himself, as a European, was slave to his own. And even the Moors in Spain for 500 years and many more. And who was the first slave seller? Ask the Arab. Ask them. Ask the Egyptian. Even modern day today, African children in the whole of Africa are going to Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Libya. Once was ruled by a great man named Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi, Colonel. He died in a gutter by the hands of hypocrites who want to get rid of him. All because he was trying to unite Africa. What did your African leaders do about that? What is the African Union do about it? Did they stand up against what happened? No. Anybody could go to Libya and make some money and go back home and mind the family. But you cannot go to the lands of Saudi Arabia, the land of Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, without you be beaten and being in slavery 18 and 20 hours a day you're working. And they're holding your passport. It is on the Facebook. I call upon all Muslims out of Saudi Arabia. I believe that Allah made this entire universe. No water is holy by a hypocrite, but God already make it holy. You can pray on it for yourself. You can do a lot. You don't have to sell out your property. Exploit people to go to Saudi Arabia, to Mecca. You got to pay for the hotel. It's not free. You got to pay for your food. It's not free. And even if you go to Israel, that was founded in 1940 something, and I always said thanks to Adolf Hitler that my Jewish brothers and sisters could have a promised land called Jerusalem and Israel. Bible story. We are asking these questions. Sometimes I'm tired. That's why I don't like to read historian affair. So I'm calling on you, the black man in Guyana. Stop this racial talk about white man exploit Africa when you have done it in the Caribbean to Arawak Indian and the Amerindians in Guyana, indigenous people, by raping their women, having sex with them, breeding them. And you, the Indian, also putting them in whole house, getting them to clean your yard, exploiting them, humiliate them with insult, and you hold the Rama in the Quran and the Bible and call upon God. I don't think God needs y'all, man. I'll be honest with you. All of you are effing hypocrites. But for the decent one, the honorable one, I call upon you to stand firm. Because something terrible is about to happen between the 15th of December to the 15th of January, the latest, the 15th of February. The world will wake up to something so devastating. Y'all will wish some of you didn't born. All the thief. And I call upon Allah. Because Saudi Arabia know him as Allah. And Dubai. If they are blessed by you, Allah, let them cherish. But if they are cursed, make an example of an earthquake, but flatten them to show them wrong thing does not good to do to innocent people. Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, preach of equality amongst all color, all race, all nationality, and even give women equal rights. So we don't have to wait on the Democratic Party or the Republican or some joker in Guyana or Jamaica or Africa to say women got rights. You never have rights, because if you have to lay down to exploit another woman because you want to be with her man for money and live good, you are nothing but what I call a private social whore. And you shouldn't call upon Allah, God, or Bhagwan. Please. So I call upon all of you to stop this thing about race, white man, Chinese man, black man, Indian man. What are you discriminating against? Allah, Bhagwan, and God said in the Holy Book, I create man in my own image and likeness. What you're discriminating against is color and nationality. You're not discriminating against man because you end up with man, which you should be proud that Allah make us all. But we must stop exploiting our sisters who becomes our wives. And I mean it. Stop it. How long you live and you won't go to heaven? Well, I tell you what. If Allah, Bhagwan, or God take a lot of you in heaven, boy, I gonna be waiting in Satan's kingdom by the gate. I want the key for that door. Because heaven might be a paradise. Hell might be a paradise to compare with heaven if Allah would take men like Abasha and many other in Africa who are exploiting their people, enslaving them, buying house in Europe for millions of pounds and making their people hungry. I'm calling on you, young African, stop going toward tribal affair or religious background and unite as God, human being, as fellow human being that Allah, Bhagwan, or God put on earth. Stop listening to corrupt politicians. Today I was made to understand that the president of Ghana chartered a plane, the most expensive plane, to go to the soccer match. Imagine these bastards rather the soccer game more than the hungry man and woman in Ashama, in many other parts of Ghana. Why? Is he so in love with a soccer man kicking a ball and he take a plane, made his entourage to go to look at the match, while people that money could have utilized for better facilities in hospital to help the needy and place to feed them and house people, that man take, according to information, go to see a match of a soccer. Was he playing? I want to know. Learn from Idi Amin. Learn from Mr. Hitler. Learn from Napoleon. Learn from Nebuchadnezzar, the Caesar. And learn from many more dictators in Africa. You are killing your opponent just because you want to stay in power. Take the Lyndon Sampson Farms Burnham in Guyana. Cherry Jagan in Guyana. Both men was involved in the death of the late Walter Rodney, Vincent Tika, and many more that we don't know. Where are them today? So I call upon you, the African descendant. Learn. And you, the Indians, I salute you in Pakistan to change the government. His only friends and family are running these countries and exploiting you. The other day I heard them fire a bullet next to the Prime Minister that they kick out of office in Pakistan. They killed Baltasar, they killed his daughter, they killed Mrs. Gandhi, They killed Mahatma Gandhi. They killed Rajiv Gandhi. Think of it. These corrupt elements, these bastards from India to Africa, from Latin and South America to the Caribbean. I call upon you, the people, to stand up with one voice, regardless of your language, and call upon God to do something. Put an end to this corruption around the world. Put an end to war. Put an end to poverty. We can do it, but we have to unite. Think of it, ladies and gentlemen. So I call upon you, my African brothers, in and out of Africa, descendant of African descendant. Stop talking about slavery. If Abraham was our grandfather and he was black, let's question God, Bagwanarala, how he had to have sex with his slave. Answer me. Think of it. So therefore, don't buy those nonsense, because he exploit a woman. And when the baby born, his wife get a child, and she said, Abraham, well, Agar have to go with Ishmael. That is why the Jews and the Muslims hate each other from that incident till now. If today Abraham was living, he would have been tried for cruelty against human beings. Maybe he would have died in prison. Think of it. So when we talk about slavery, modern Africans and Indians, Chinese and Europeans, let's unite and make this world a better place. If your politicians are doing good, we support them. If they are doing wrong, we must oppose them. But we must speak with one voice. But look where your money is going. These politicians all in Guyana, fancy house, swimming pool, bodyguard. Their children are better kept in. Think of it. But who caused it? You. The military in the third world country. The police, the civil servant. Y'all are to be blamed. And the voodoo men who they're going to, and the priests who are shaking hands with them, and uniting with them, and telling you to vote for them, my friends. Don't like the Jehovah Witness. Don't support no bloody government. The greatest government is God Almighty, Allah or Bhagwan. Take it from me. But remember, we must have leaders. We must respect them. There is one Arab country where the leader ride a horse and go all about. He don't even have bodyguard. And I want you to go and touch him. People love him. Gaddafi was a prime example. But that leader, I wouldn't mention his name. But he's well known. Some of his horse value $2 million US. Because he loved race horse. So Mr. Ali, in Guyana, as president, I don't care how many counts they accuse you for. I want to see your account. And all your parliamentarian account. And I'm telling you, whatever crime you all do will come back to haunt you. And you have children. I believe in this teaching if you all forget it. What the Bible says. Your children shall answer the call. 4th or 7th generation. What is that meaning? Now I want to ask you all a question. Allah is great. Lucifer and he had an argument. And he threw Lucifer with his falling angels out of heaven. I wonder if he can take some Indian in Guyana who fighting for land, like Mohanlal in Canaan, that blocking a fucking road, excuse the French, and Mr. Ahmad Ali with Yassin Ali, who fight for land in Kingston, West Coast. Anyway, these Indians, a lot of you Indians are very corrupt, jealousful, greedy, covetous. Y'all do not have thanks. Y'all don't have respect for what people do for you. Y'all are the most ungrateful human being that walk the face of the earth in Guyana. That is why India perform a caste system, because it is genetic in your blood. And y'all just want to hear something, and you spread it faster than BBC, Al Jazeera, and CNN, and maybe others, because y'all love gossip. Y'all love trouble. You all believe you know it all, you Indians in Guyana. Wake up before it's too late. The Guyanese black man is not your enemy. And you, the black man, the Indian, is not your enemy. Your enemy is the 65 members of parliament and the corrupt police, army, commissioner, and all who involved in corruption. Because if your ministers them force the court to do what they want, they have to do it because they need a job. And therefore, they are aiding and abetting in a crime. So I call upon all of you police army to unite. Doctors, teachers, and everybody, and all Guyanese have a right to share the wealth and stop this racial nonsense between the two of you. Why the Portuguese and the Chinese don't complain? And if you believe in the Bible, let's get an Amerindian as the leader. We tried the black man, his discrimination and racial tension, a lot of rape in NIS, a lot of rape in people militia, national service with other races, and even some of your own. How you answer that? Tell me, Aubrey Norton, Mr. Ali, we must not forget the fallen souls that stand up because they were ignorant, thinking that we do right, like the woman in Leonora, counselor, and the two brother on Berbice, and many more. That is why Walter Rodney is our leader. Omawali, who was also murdered by the hands. According to information, I got a list with a lot of names, and you all might be surprised. And I call upon the police, the judges, and others. If you are forced by politicians to do nasty things, report it to embassies and take the news, like the policeman who investigated a shooting and he had to get bodyguard. That's an honorable man, a decent man. That is why your children will suffer the pain and darkness in this world. Wake up to a great Guyana and let the Amerindian have their country administered by the sixth race. Have a good day, and may God be with all of you. And welcome our brothers and sisters around the world. Guyana needs 25 million citizens to take control. No man owns this earth or the world. Let's share it and enjoy it. From Africa to India, from China to Portugal, and for all those who have been exploited and running away from war-torn country. Down with dictatorism. Long live the struggle of people. As the late Walter Rodney says, I quote his quotation, people's power, no dictator. Have a good night.